So I've had a relatively positive experience with the lockdown. But before I go on and tell my story, I don't want this to seem that I don't absolutely appreciate that it's been very, very difficult, isolating for people, and all the fact of all the lives that we've lost. Is absolutely incredibly unjust and so sad. And my heart goes out to any family who've lost loved ones. It's awful, and it continues. We're not out of this yet. But if I just tell you my personal experience, so I had my daughter, my first baby, in early November 2019, and as the breadwinner of the family. So before I was pregnant, my other half stopped working to go to university. We moved from Yorkshire to come up to Edinburgh for him to study. This was all planned. That's what we did. And then I got pregnant, which obviously was very exciting. Which also meant that we couldn't afford for me to stay on maternity leave. So I was going to go back to work after 3 months, which would meant a commute from Edinburgh down to Harrogate at least once a week to the office. I made that trip once at the end of February. I did a couple of trips away where I managed to take my baby with me, or once I had to go to Latvia for 3 days and left her with Callum, which it's quite difficult as a breastfeeding mother, but technology allows these things these days. But this was all before the lockdown, so I managed a trip once, and then COVID came to our shores. So for me, with at that point 4-month-old baby, was a blessing. That we were suddenly in lockdown, and I didn't have to keep commuting to the office. I was very blessed in the fact that I could work from home. There's absolutely nothing in my job that would mean I need to go into an office. It's just that traditionally we've always had that office, and I was lucky enough that I could work from home some days, but it was expected I would probably be in the office at least once a week. The rest of my team, however, were office based, but now 16 months on, and none of us have been back in the office. My team did try once back in September, but then as cases started rising again, we stopped that. For me, there's been myself, my now almost 20-month-old daughter, my dog Ted, and my partner in the flat. And so not only has it helped me out by not having to travel to work, it's also helped that my partner was able to do his studies remotely. It's, as a business, it's brought my business on that now, I don't have to travel all around the country attending meetings either, because, whilst we had all of these, virtual software, Microsoft Teams, Zoom, all of that was available to us. It was all very alien, and people, like to stick to traditions. But now everyone's used to it because we were forced into it. So I think there's a lot of good to come from it. But like I said at the beginning, that does not overshadow all the bad. But I think, we have to trying to take some positives from it. My other half, I think he perhaps felt, he's a mature student, so he felt he could cope with the remote learning a lot better than what I'm sure a younger, especially a first year university student missing out. It's not just about the going to learn, it's about the whole life and the moving out, and that must have been a real hit for a lot of students. But for my partner, it was a real help because he didn't have to even leave the house. However, he won't mind me saying that he did suffer slightly with mental health issues, and that really came to a bit of a head just after Christmas this year, especially when we were going into another lockdown. But that's something that's been dealt with, and he's okay. I wouldn't say it'd been to do with the lockdown, really. I suppose my main concern at the moment is case numbers rising. It doesn't look like it's going away yet. It seems that the decision at the moment is to remove the restrictions we've got. And of course, the last thing I want is to go back into another lockdown. I just feel like I'm not one of the people who's desperate to say, oh, it's Freedom Day, or I don't really feel like any of my freedoms have been taken away. I suppose one key thing, apart from work, one key thing that's happened as well, it's really allowed me to appreciate and just slow down. I think it's been really beneficial that we were new to the area, so it's given us some time to explore. Before, we were very much like, get in the car and go out for the day, travel, and I think having a baby, certainly imposes a slower kind of life, and also then the lockdown made it that it wasn't just the baby that imposed that. So, and now I appreciate local. It's changed my shopping habits. So now I shop more local. We buy milk in glass bottles from just across the way. We go there 3 times a day. We 3 times a week. Sorry, and we buy as much local as possible. I go to the local markets, go to the local shops rather than. I certainly don't do a big shop. I don't go to the supermarket with my car and do a big shop anymore. I feel like I've engaged with the community certainly a lot more, and I'm more invested in supporting local, and also just enjoying my local area, and appreciating the small things, going for a walk, going to the park, which my daughter at 20 months doesn't need anything too exciting. Going to the park is so exciting, and also just enjoying that with her. Going to the shop, just the local one. So it's certainly changed my mindset. So I just thought I'd give an account of, maybe there aren't so many people saying that it was positive, but certainly from my perspective it has been. Thank you.